Live with studios in Midland and Odessa, you're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW West
He has
Texas.
so much to look forward to, and there's so much adventure out there that he's a young man, so there's a lot that he can do.
Getting your Amazon packages is already the best feeling in the world, but for residents at Manor Park, that feeling is even sweeter with Denny Park as their mailman. Coming up in just a few minutes, the emotional goodbye as Denny retires and prepares for his next adventure. Good evening. Thanks for joining us for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks for joining us live on the CBS7 YouTube. I'm Alexandra Macia, and we have new details for you on the South Odessa shooting we first told you about last night at 9. A 16-year-old and a 19-year-old were injured in the shooting. The Odessa Police Department is now saying that last night may have been an illegal transaction, which then led to around 40 bullet casings being fired. OPD expects there to be more bullet casings found in the shooter's vehicle. Currently, no arrests have been made in this incident and no suspects have been named, but the possible charges include aggravated assault, narcotics, and more potential gun-related charges. The two gunshot victims have said they do not want to press charges for the shooting. However, OPD sees the parents and children at the park and the neighborhood residents as victims of the shooting as well.
A good possibility of gun charges involved in this. Let's be honest. This shooting happened by a park that was full of kids. Somebody's got to pay for what happened here.
If you have any information regarding this incident, you can call Crime Stoppers at 432-333-TIPS. Another update for you. Yesterday, members of the Firemen's Relief and Retirement Fund Board ratified the vote by the Midland Fire Department on two items addressing issues with the Firemen's Relief and Retirement Fund, including overtime earned outside of normal scheduled shift days will no longer count towards retirement, and a change to calculate retirement benefits will be based on 60 consecutive pay periods rather than picking the highest 60 months throughout their entire career. The city says, along with the Firemen's Relief and Retirement Fund Board, they will continue working together to consider other potential solutions, including changes recommended by professional consultants. The city says they will continue to update on progress and other proposals. And in continuing coverage of the fentanyl crisis, U.S. senators are trying to be proactive in preventing people from getting poisoned by fentanyl. The Fentanyl Safe Testing and Overdose Prevention Act would allow easier access to fentanyl test kits. Just like Narcan, these test strips are simple to use. Dip the kit into water mixed with a decent amount of the pill or drug, and one line will indicate a presence of fentanyl, while two lines will detect none. However, there are some flaws.
It's like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and test this one, and if it's good, I'm good for this batch, but again, maybe not. So I could see the good and bad, and that's what it is.
Henshaw says that there could be a number of reasons as to why kids or young adults in the area use fentanyl. One of the main reasons, she says, is a lack of parental involvement in the area.
I don't know how many parents I've heard say, oh, I'm okay with my child drinking as long as it's at home, or I'm okay with my kid smoking weed because it's just weed, it's natural, right? Well, still, you're leading them down a path that could turn out bad.
Senator John Cornyn is part of the group that introduced this bill. He says in a statement sent to CBS7, fentanyl is ravaging Texas communities. This legislation would help prevent deaths due to fentanyl poisoning by giving people the tools to identify it. And it's time to take a look at weather. Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller is here to tell us what we can expect. Tom?
Well, we are going to be looking at, again, plenty of heat in our forecast, but not quite as hot this weekend. We're talking about temperatures like this. But not quite as hot this weekend. We're talking about temperatures like this. This is what we saw today, the upper 90s, but there were hot spots like Big Spring, Pecos, 101 degrees, 101 down towards the Presidio area too. We've cooled off a little bit out there, mid 90s currently to the lower 90s out at the Midland National Air and Spaceport, as we are seeing these gusty southeasterly winds across the area. And again, looking for the possibility of temperatures to stay kind of nice this weekend. Next week, a much different story.
Thanks, Tom. Looking in the community, Manor Park's mailman Denny Park retired today. Denny says it's the residents he'll miss the most and bringing treats to their dogs. Are you going to miss him?
Oh, yes. Yes, very much.
After 33 years in the Postal Service, Manor Park's mailman of 22 years, Denny Park, is retiring.
These people are family to me out here. They supported me when I was going through hard times.
Manor Park's receptionist, Margie Herron, has worked with Denny for 16 years.
I do the mail for Manor Park, and he brings the mail to us.
Herron says every day, Denny is the same.
He is always friendly, a gentleman. He is always helpful, whatever. And he has helped me in a lot of ways.
Manor Park residents threw Denny a surprise party to honor his last day.
I'll tell you what, they'll go through anything for you. And these are wonderful people, and that's the main thing I miss the most. It's just the people out here.
Denny has been a mailman in Midland for so long, he's known many of the residents since before their arrival to Manor Park.
Some are like mom to me, some people are like dad. It's just, those are the things, everyday interaction with these people is going to be very missed.
Margie has one last message for her dear friend Denny.
Denny, when you hang up your mailbag today, when you're ready to leave the post office, I hope you take a lot of good memories with you and leave a lot of friends, not behind, but you can have with you. God bless you and good luck.
Denny flies to Miami first thing tomorrow morning to kick off his retirement with a little vacation. In your education news, Midland ISD Transportation Routing Coordinator Eliza Felix was named Operations Specialist of the Year by the Texas Transportation for Pupil Transportation. The prestigious award recognizes her outstanding contribution in the field of School of Transportation. Felix started her career 30 years ago as a bus monitor. Then she became a bus driver for 25 years, then moved to bookkeeping. Now she is the Transportation Routing Coordinator. Felix's tireless dedication and commitment to ensure the safety and efficient transportation for the students made her a great candidate to win the award.
It is a great honor. I didn't even know I was nominated, so to say it was a surprise and was putting it lightly. But I'm very honored to have received it.
As a routing coordinator, Felix has played a pivotal in designing and optimizing routes to increase efficiency and minimize travel time, which has made a significant impact on the daily lives of students. It's a story you'll only see on CBS7. If you're into combat sports, you know that the most popular combat sport league are the UFC and WBC. But the fastest growing sport is bare knuckle boxing, and one Odessa man is the main event for BKFC 48. Jeremy Sauceda hasn't been involved in bare knuckle fighting for very long. He only started training bare knuckle since 2021 after former MMA fighter and Lubbock native Leonard Garcia asked Sauceda to train together. Sauceda has only been in 2 fights in the last year, with his 3rd fight being in just a few days. Sauceda's transition from boxing to bare knuckle has changed the way he fights.
I'm ready. I'm hyped. I'm excited. It's going to be good. A lot of coaches and people that are getting into it are trying to understand and figure out what are the good points and how to achieve a great form and technique for bare knuckle.
If you're curious about the sport or want to see Jeremy in action, he's set to fight August 11th in Albuquerque. In more combat sports news, 17 students from Bastos Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu have returned to Midland after competing in the Pan American Championship in Orlando. And those students broke the record for wins at their academy with 6 gold medals. One of the students is the daughter of instructor Bruno Bastos, Mario Bastos. After winning the silver medal 2 years in a row, she was triumphant this go-round, earning her first gold medal as a gray belt and converting to yellow. Even though the times of struggles, her father always tried to lift her up with a positive message.
I like to say that life is a competition, so every time that she experiences a loss, I remind her that's not what tells her worth. Her worth is what she's gonna do after every win and or loss.
Maria looks to compete in more tournaments in the future. And if you're on social media, you might have seen the weekly extravagant photo shoots of the adoptable shelter pets in Midland. But do you know the mastermind behind them? For many shelter animals, a photo will decide if they'll find a forever home. That's why Tasha Sport volunteers her time, skills, and creative props to help animals look their best. She heads to Midland Animal Services every Friday to host a themed photo shoot. This week's theme is based on the Universal Shelter Dog Birthday, which is August 1st.
It's a big production. It costs me a lot of money, but it is all worth it for the dogs. My goal, if one dog gets adopted from doing all this, then, my mission has been met.
She says the photos show a different side of the pets because many blossom outside of their kennels. Instead of sad photos behind kennel bars, the pets show their personality and manners. Now for a look at today's top headlines shown here in real time with real viewers on CBS7.com. See all these stories and more by downloading our app or visiting our website at CBS7.com. And still ahead, the race for 2024 continued tonight as presidential hopefuls hit the campaign trails. We have the latest on the candidates next on CBS 7 News at 9. Republican presidential candidates gathered in Iowa Friday night at a party fundraising dinner. As CBS News correspondent Willie James Inman reports from Washington, former President Donald Trump, led among GOP candidates in the 2024 race, has grown since his criminal indictment last month.
Facing mounting legal troubles, former President Trump campaigned in Iowa on Friday.
They're weaponizing the FBI. And, every time they do something, we go up in the polls.
Trump spoke the day after special counsel Jack Smith unveiled 3 additional criminal charges against him in the classified documents case. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina are also among the more than a dozen contenders speaking at a Republican Party dinner Friday night. Both have stayed away from direct attacks on the former president.
We're sending the military to the border. But also as commander-in-chief, I will stand toe-to-toe with China.
Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris spent the day in Iowa discussing reproductive rights and the state legislature's efforts to enact a 6-week abortion ban.
Our daughter is in her 20s. She is going to have fewer constitutional rights than my mother-in-law.
And President Biden traveled to Maine Friday to tout his Bidenomics economic policies.
Inflation is now at the lowest point it's been in over 2 years.
The president criticized Republicans for not supporting his Inflation Reduction Act and joked they might decide to impeach him because inflation is coming down. Willie James Inman, CBS News, Washington.
Former Congressman Will Hurd from Texas was booed at the end of his remarks, saying, quote, Donald Trump is running to stay out of prison, end quote. Adding, if Trump is the nominee, quote, we are willingly giving Joe Biden the White House, end quote.
Well, back home in West Texas, we're wrapping up, I should say, another hot day across the area. And unfortunately, more of that heat is on the way. We'll talk about it. Get you ready for your weekend up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, as we take a look outside on a pretty quiet evening out there, a few high clouds moving across, but overall, a tranquil evening with temperatures still kind of on the warm side. If you've been out, you know we're still into the 90s out there. It's a little cooler down in those mountain areas, but still hanging on to triple digits down towards Terlingua. Right now at 100 degrees. And again, we do have, for the most part, relatively quiet conditions across West Texas right now, thanks to high pressure in control of the weather. Again, there's been some thunderstorms form up across the plains. We'll see this northeasterly flow bring us only some high cloudiness out of that coming up tomorrow. Also watching this disturbance down here, little area of low pressure, that could bring some high cloudiness in too for the weekend, but it's not going to really put a big dent in temperatures. Still looking at the upper 90s across the area, as that area of high pressure is going to continue to dominate our weather. We did have some scattered showers, thunder showers across South Texas, into areas around Houston a little bit earlier, and also into the mountains of New Mexico, but that's as close as everything got, as we are seeing temperatures again for the most part today on the hot side. Triple digits, Alamo City of San Antonio, 102 across the Metroplex, 103 in Del Rio, and one of the hot spots, El Paso, 105, as was Laredo this afternoon. Now, your West Texas Futurecast is showing that, again, just a few high clouds drifting in from the north and from the south as we roll in towards tomorrow. But other than that, a pretty quiet weekend coming up with temperatures again into the upper 90s. But we'll see changes after that in our forecast. Moving the clock ahead towards Sunday here, again, seeing some of that high cloudiness thicken up a little bit early on and move across the area. But unfortunately, no rain Rest of tonight, again, seeing those temperatures try to cool off a little bit. So makes for a nice start in the morning. But once that sun pops up, temperatures heat up quite a bit. And we'll be looking at the upper 90s tomorrow afternoon. But areas across the northeast Permian Basin, western Permian Basin into the Trans-Pecos, Presidio Valley, temperatures approaching 100 degrees tomorrow afternoon. And that CBS 7 First Alert exclusive 10-day forecast is showing things heating up quite a bit. High pressure builds back in, strengthens, and look at those triple digits coming in across the area next week, 101 to 102, before we see worst part of the heat wave rolling in next weekend and the following week. So plenty of heat, it looks like, for the start of school coming up across West Texas.
Still ahead, Taylor Swift fans generated seismic activity. The details of the Swiftie earthquake coming up in just a few minutes. Taylor Swift fans aren't only shaking it off, they're also apparently shaking the earth. Seismologists say Swifties seeing the Eras Tour at Seattle's Lumen Field last weekend were so excited they generated enough energy during their concert to register the equivalent seismic activity of a 2.3 magnitude earthquake.
People are dancing, which means they're dancing in rhythm. And when you move in rhythm, those signals can amplify, can add together. But we also have a speaker system, right? And we can't be certain as to whether the signals that we're recording on the seismometer are the people moving the ground or potentially something about the sound system.
Scientists say they're still gathering and examining data to determine why the ground shakes at the stadium during big events. Swift's tour comes to the San Francisco area tonight and tomorrow. She'll perform 6 shows in Los Angeles next week. If you purchased a Ford F-150 truck in the past couple of years, then you need to listen up. Hundreds of thousands are being recalled due to issues with the parking brakes. The recall includes more than 870,000 vehicles from 2021 through 2023. According to Ford, the parking brake may become activated on its own while driving without the driver doing anything. That can increase the risk of a crash, and the company says it has received 299 claims of unexpected parking brake activation, including 19 which occurred while the truck was in motion. Owners should be getting the recall letters on September 11th. However, you should have your vehicle inspected at a dealership. It will be free of charge. Americans are feeling more upbeat about the economy. That's according to a University of Michigan consumer survey released today. According to the newly released data, consumer sentiment went up to 11% from June to July. That brings it up to its highest level since October of 2021. Researchers say people are more optimistic because of slowed inflation and stability in labor markets. And still ahead, lost for centuries, Emperor Nero's theater is unearthed in Rome. It's a discovery for the history books. Archaeologists say the ancient ruins of Roman Emperor Nero's private theater were discovered in Rome. The site is located near the Vatican and is believed to be where Nero rehearsed poetry and music in the 1st century AD. Experts are describing the discovery as being, quote, exceptional. While the theater was mentioned in ancient Roman texts, its exact whereabouts were never documented. The city's special superintendent says the findings provide a rare glimpse of the period beginning with Nero's reign through to the 15th century. Some of the artifacts recovered include glass goblets, coins, and remnants of musical instruments. Tom, this is pretty fascinating that they were able to uncover this from so long ago.
And it makes you wonder, is this a place where Nero fiddled while Rome burned?
Do you think? Maybe.
Could be, you know, that old saying, you know. Anyway, though, so good find there. New tourist attraction opening soon.
Very exciting.
Yes. For us, weather's not exciting.
Well, it's a little exciting. We get a break from the temperature this weekend.
Like somebody said on Facebook, we are so done with this.
Yeah.
And we really are, but unfortunately, it's not done with us. Well, we'll get a little bit of a break this weekend. Look what happens next week, back in those triple digits, and then the real heat turns on late next weekend into the following week. So for the start of school, things could be a little bit on the toasty side out there across the area. Let's enjoy this weekend while we can.
All right, well, thanks for watching CBS 7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW.